Welcome back, y'all, and happy Thursday. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and I'm your host, Bull. I apologize that we got started a little bit later on today, but we had a few technical difficulties. I'm trying to get this internet thing fixed. Hopefully, this stream does go better. I've got a few things that are going to be coming in the mail that should completely and totally fix it, but we got to kind of make it do what it does until that happens. But thank y'all so much for joining us. Please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And today I want to talk about Sam Pendleton. He is an interior offensive line. He plays guard. He was at Notre Dame. Decided to hit that transfer portal with the non-contact tag next to his name, which means that coaches can't reach out to him. He can only reach out to the teams and the schools that he wants to talk to. At least teams aren't supposed to be reaching out to him. But typically what that means, y'all, is that the player knows where they want to go, or at least they have it narrowed down to a few schools. Typically, it's schools that have already tampered with him. He is going to be on campus today visiting our Tennessee Volunteers, and we feel very, very confident that he will be coming on home to Tennessee whenever it's all said and done. So the first thing that I want to do for everybody is pull up his profile from On3. And please excuse these little ads and stuff. I'm not supposed to be having ads, but either way, right here you can see that he was a 3-star with On3. He's listed at 6'4", 295 pounds. At this point, he's 6'4", about 310, 315. So obviously he has grown. He will be a redshirt freshman, or he was a redshirt freshman this past season. Next year, he's going to be a redshirt sophomore, so he's going to have several more years to play with Tennessee. The only site that had him as a 4-star was actually Rivals, but everyone else had him as a 3-star. I think that he's a very, very good football player. You know, I've read a couple of articles on him from Notre Dame, and, I've kind of like read what they're saying on their message boards and stuff. A lot of people was actually surprised that he got the start earlier in the season, because he did start, I want to say, the first 7 games. So he's played a lot of football. Now, there was an offensive lineman, I think his name is like Scrouth, or I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Scrouth, I think he's number 74. He was out from week 3 to like week 7, and then once he came back, I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but from about like week 8 or 9, Pendleton was not starting. Okay, like he still played some, but he was not starting. So he didn't start in any of the playoff games. He might have started in the first one, or he might have played some in the first one. But this is a guy that I think is going to be very, very good for Tennessee. Let me get to this chat right here from my dog. As soon as we come in, if y'all drop some chats, we want to make sure that we read those off early as possible. So from my dog Dustin Young, thank you for joining us. Saying, when are they going to remove the tampering rule? All teams do it, and with players having agents, it basically has to happen. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rules that the NCAA has still, and they've always had, that don't make any logical sense. I mean, it's just like it's an ass backwards organization. So I don't know. I don't know when that's going to come. I think they'll probably keep it in place. I would probably say that most of the teams and most of the coaches, they probably like how things are, because there are rules that might slow down it just being a total, like, all out, hey, we're tampering. You got to be kind of careful with how you move, but it's also understood that people are going to do it. And then there's several other things that we could talk about, but I don't know when that's going away. I'm ready for us to separate from the NCAA, because that to me is what needs to go away for us to have football the way that we want it, where it's beneficial for everybody. It might not be as beneficial to the institutions, but for us as fans, for the players, I think even for those coaches, it's going to be a lot better of a product once the NCAA completely gets out of everyone's way. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up some of his game clips. Okay, just some of the ones that I put together, and we can talk about what I see from him on the field. So number one, he has, I think, perfect prototype size for the guard position. He's played a lot of left guard, but he can also play right guard. I mean, he's played, I want to say, like 200 or 300 something snaps. It's something like that at left guard, and we'll just call it, like 100 something, or maybe even less on the right side. That's going to be very, very important, because we do have Wendell Moy, who mostly has played left guard. He's probably going to be our starting left guard. But then if we can add Pendleton, then he's going to probably have to play on the right side, but it's good to know that he can do both of them. Either way, though, I think that he's a strong player. He's got a good twitch to him. He has a really good patience, something that I've noticed just in all of his different pass sets. He does a good job of identifying when there's different stunts and blitzes coming, for the most part. Now, I started off with those 2 points just to let you know that I think that it's very good. But if there are 2 points in his game that I could point to and say maybe he could get a little bit better, he struggles versus that bull rush. So whenever people rush him with power, and it's not horrible, but that's where I've seen him probably struggle at the most. Again, very, 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 very minor things here that we're talking about with this game that could potentially be somewhat negative. Again, redshirt freshman this past year, he has plenty of room to grow. And then I would also say with different stunts and blitzes, this was really earlier on in the season when I did notice that he wasn't always picking those up the best. He wasn't passing things off the best with his pass pro. But again, very, very minor things. I think that overall, he is a very, very solid football player. I would put him, about on the same level as the guard that we were trying to go get from USC. Very, very similar, right? I think that he might be like a step or two below where a Wendell Moy is, probably 2.5 steps below where like a Josh Thompson would have been. But I think that at this point, if the staff really feels like, hey, we got to go out and add another guard body, this is a really good one. You know what I'm saying? Like here, you can see him pulling around. I think that he's going to fit into our scheme very, very well. He has really good body control. He has good strength. And here, like you said, he has quick hands too. He has quick feet. Again, he plays with, I think, he plays with a really low heart rate, which is something that I talk to players about all the time, especially, like with my nephew Bray. Talk to him about controlling your heart rate. Seems like he doesn't really get rattled. That's huge in these critical moments and critical situations. But that's pretty much where I'm at with him. I think that he's going to be a great addition to this team. And if you're just now joining us, we are expecting that he is going to be committing to Tennessee. He's on campus right now for his visit. We just kind of went through and talked about how he had that non-contact thing on there with the first team that he visits. So clearly some tampering's been going on, which is great. Okay, there should be no penalty for that because you just can't prove it, right? Like you have to prove it. But, I think there's a really good job by the staff of identifying what they would consider as a need for this team and going out and finding a very good football player that has seen that has seen a team make it to the national title. There's a lot to be said about that. Again, he started over several veterans. The guys that he was starting over earlier this year, they were, seniors. They were all like upperclassmen. I'm not 100% sure why he lost his starting spot, because I think I've watched maybe every single one of his snaps because I started watching some of his film, or I started watching his film yesterday. So I've seen a lot of it, and I haven't seen too many things that would lead me to believe, hey man, this guy, you don't want him starting. I just think that Notre Dame has a very, very deep offensive line. We looked at their numbers, with us and the Buckeyes versus them, and we said, well, their offensive line, looked the best just from a blue chip, from like a blue chip ratio and all that type of stuff. They had the deepest offensive line. So I think that would explain maybe a little bit of it. You know what I'm saying? There's some very good players that were upperclassmen that ended up kind of, starting over him to end off the season. But I think that he's going to be a great addition to this team. Now, I want to take a look at our current offensive line. Let me show y'all how that looks. We've looked at this a few times as well, but let's pull this back up because I want to talk a little bit. This is something that I was thinking about last night. I think about this a lot, actually. We've talked about it, on this channel before too. But I want to talk about Coach Ellaby and, like what he's doing here, because we keep on bringing in more and more offensive linemen to kind of start over the guys that he brought in himself. The weird thing about this one is, he's a redshirt freshman now, so he's younger than the guys that we got from 2023. So if you look down at the guard spot, let me also say this. Andre Carrick, we've said this, several times. Do not think that he's going to be coming back. I think he's still waiting to see what's going to happen. That doesn't like that's too hopeful that he will be back. If he does come back, obviously that's just more depth for this team. But I don't see that happening. If that was going to happen, we wouldn't be going out and trying to get a Sam Pendleton, just as far as I'm concerned. So we can maybe scratch Andre Carrick off of this list. Either way, though, whenever you look at guys like Sham Umarov and also Aiden Bustle, these are guys that we brought in the 2023 class that will be third-year players this season. Now, Sham was a 4-star coming out of high school. Aiden Bustle was just a 3-star. We brought in a lot more players that are no longer with us. There was a 4-star from 2022. The kid that went to Arkansas, I can't think of his name right now, but he played center and guard. He was a 4-star. He transferred out. So not, I guess maybe there isn't that much talent left per se from the 2022, 2023 class, which would be the classes that I'm pointing to. And I'm saying, hey, these guys should be seeing the field. So I'm just kind of curious as to what exactly is going on here. Do we not trust Sham? I don't know if that's the case. I would say that what the staff is doing, probably the best way for us to look at this is, we are bringing in another player at guard so that we have some more depth, right? So we can't sit here and say that Sam Pendleton is going to be a starter. I mean, you can't necessarily say that Wendell Moore is going to be a starter, but I think he will be. But Sam Pendleton and I think Shem maybe will be fighting for that starting guard spot. You know what I'm saying? Just because Sam Pendleton is a younger player, he's going to have more time. It would be concerning for me if we brought in Sam Pendleton to be the surefire starter from day one over a Sham Umrah. That would be a little bit concerning for me. But maybe, one of the saving graces for Coach Ellaby would be that if you look at the 2024 class, if you look at the 2025 class, we've brought in more players. Obviously, in 25, we bring in David Sanders. That's huge. That's an absolute no-brainer. You see a player of that caliber, that's a can't miss sort of a player. So it's great that we're able to bring him home. That says something about Coach E. He had to play a very major role in being able to bring home David Sanders. And then you have our center, Moore, right? Center, I think he could also play guard, but I think that we got him to play center. Very good football player. He's a 4-star. Love his game. Then we also have Antony Agumoro, who would be another guard. Now, he was a 3-star, but we love his game. He's still raw, so you would hope that he's going to be able to get exponentially better as he continues to play football, especially now that he is up on campus with our volunteers. I actually saw, I believe it was his mom on Twitter or on X, just kind of posting they was dropping him off. So good to hear that, good to know that. But I think that the 2024 class, more bodies there. We could talk about just different spots. So Bennett Warren, who I believe was the highest rated player in that class, 4-star tackle, 6'8", really good size. He shows that he's very flexible. He can do the splits, all that type of stuff. Some things that obviously he needs to get better at, but we love what his ceiling is. So really good there. Now Trevor Duncan would actually be, I think, 2023 guy that we brought in to play on the defensive line. He's going to be playing tackle for us now. Actually looks like he has more upside at that position. So we added some depth right there. Jesse Perry, and right now I'm talking about the right tackles, but Jesse Perry, 3-star, who didn't do a whole lot of pass blocking coming out of high school. That was probably the major reason that he was just a 3-star. Actually, with this film breakdown, I believe that we did touch on that. Hey, we don't see a whole lot of pass pro stuff here. His run blocking looks really good, but without us being able to see enough pass protection, we can't give him that 4th or 5th star. But he is playing well. So that's good. And then we could also talk about Jeremiah Hurd, who came in with 2024, very, very raw, very new to playing tackle, but looks great. I think that just from how do they look getting off the bus, he's probably number 1 on this team. 6'8", like 315, 320, very lean, long arms, looks like a phenomenal athlete. P and I talked about being Goda. I think that he's one of those Goda guys at that size. Yeah, he can do some really nice things. Gage Ginther, who I still have at left tackle on this list, but he might end up getting moved to one of the guards because we have so much depth at tackle. But Gage Ginther was, I believe, a 3-star on both sites, might have been a 4-star on 1 or 2 sites. But, as a tackle coming out of high school in 2024, he's a guy that I could see potentially moving on to guard. Then we have Max Anderson, who could play, obviously center or guard, either guard spot. I think he's played all 3 of those spots. Looks really good. All these guys from 2024 look really good. Then we have William Satterwhite at center, probably going to be our starting center. A lot of folks will ask, are we bringing in a Sam Pendleton to potentially play center for us? I don't know that would be the case. Him, Wendell Moore, the 2 transfer offensive linemen that we just got, they haven't played any center that I saw in college. So they are guard bodies. I think that William Satterwhite will be our starting center. So, I'm saying all these things just to say, kind of pointing out all these players that are going to be underclassmen, to say that if we can retain these guys, then all of a sudden Coach Ellaby has an opportunity to put out a really good offensive line of players that he went out and got from the high school ranks. And I'm hoping and praying that next year offensive line is not going to be a spot that Tennessee has to go to the portal to supplement. I'm hoping that that's going to be the case. Obviously, also with potentially adding a Sam Pendleton to this room. So, I think that things look pretty good from all of those perspectives with our offensive line. I told y'all before Sam Pendleton that I felt like we were going to be good at guard because Jesse Perry, who we just talked about at tackle, he could play guard for us as well. So, I feel like, adding a Sam Pendleton gives us a ton of depth at guard and at tackle, because I still think that Aiden Bustle looks good enough that, hey, if you got to throw him in there, he's going to be fine. And that's just based off of last season. All these players will continue to get better. what we saw from last year should not be as good as what we're going to see in 2025. So, we definitely want to stay healthy, but we have enough depth that it should not be a huge issue at any of the offensive line spots. So we'll see what happens. Let me get to some more of these chats. Actually, let me go and take this down. But let me get to some more of these chats. From Dustin Young is saying that that Agumuro is a beast, just not polished at all. Honestly, in his game, he could be a second rounder. Yeah, I think the exact same thing. I think that he is really, really good. So we talk a lot about, and hopefully y'all have noticed this, but with all of the guards that we've talked about, whether we're targeting them from the transfer portal, whether we feel like we're going to get them or not, and really, even if you look at some of the film breakdowns from the high school players, there's a lot of strength. That's something that Coach Ellaby, I think Coach Heupel really covered with the offensive line, especially the guys on the inside. And you should. You've got to be strong there because you're going up against dudes inside of this league that are big, that are strong. And I'll actually pull up these clips again for y'all, just so that you can see it again. Because sometimes, you might have missed something off of the first watch. But this one right here, this is versus Texas A&M. There were times where I'm seeing Pendleton blocking Scorton. Scorton, he's a very good, lineman. So, I saw him blocking him without any trouble. But if he can block him, then he can block anybody else inside of this league. You know what I'm saying? So you need to have the guys on the inside that are strong. And that is a point of emphasis. It's something I definitely noticed with Sam Pendleton. And I also noticed that with Cade. Very, very strong player. Once he gets things figured out from a technical perspective, I think he's going to be a very good one. And I'm going to get right back to this chat right here. But let me get first to something that I accidentally skipped from Daniel Webb, saying, aren't there some guards in lower level schools that are dogs? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there are. Honestly speaking, y'all, I mean, I haven't seen those guards. So I don't, whenever I'm watching film and stuff, so like, let's just say if I'm looking at the portal, if a player hits, I'm looking more at the bigger schools just because it's easier for me on film to tell how their game would translate to Tennessee because I can understand the caliber of player that they're facing. Now, whenever you're talking about some players coming from some of the lower, leagues and things like that, you can still tell. It just, you have to, I think, or at least for me, I need to watch more film to see how consistent are they with their technique and how much are they dominating. So I haven't seen any myself. If Tennessee's not targeting them, I'm not going to look at them. Again, unless it's from a bigger school. So I haven't seen any myself. But yes, you can always go out and find really good players from any classification in football. Players get overlooked all the time, and we see that. If you look at the NFL, a lot of players that were 3 stars that weren't even rated, they're playing and they're being very successful in the league. So, yeah, I think that is a good point. All right, so Dustin, I think, was just kind of like correcting. All right, so he's saying, okay, so he's saying hone in. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he does. He just has to hone in on some of the technical stuff. All right, so from Daniel Webb saying, after Hurd and his lack of pass pro, I don't have confidence with their player evaluation. So if you're talking about Lance Hurd, now I know that there's been a lot of things floating around about his PFF grades and all that stuff, which did not look great, but you have to understand that with PFF, it's going to be an average of how you looked over the course of a season. So to start the year off, I don't think that he came in the best shape. And then he missed about like a month. So he missed 2, maybe 3 games, or I think it was only 2. So he missed about 2 games, but he was out for about like a month. And he got really out of shape. So he comes back in that Arkansas game, and it was just horrible. So again, whenever you're looking at the averages, in that Arkansas game, I don't know, his pass pro might have been graded out at like a 20 something. It was really bad, but it's just because he was out of shape. Now, as the season went on and as he got into better shape, he looked really good. He was one of our better offensive linemen. Was he perfect? No, but I think that from a tackle perspective, if we could line up all those numbers, maybe we'll do that in one of these videos. We'll line up all of his numbers from PFF and talk about how much better he looked towards the end of this year compared to earlier in the season. So I think that Lance Hurd is another one, kind of like a David Sanders. They're both 5 stars. I think they were both the number 1 rated offensive lineman in their classes. So the talent is there for sure. The talent is definitely there. The main reason I kind of wanted to talk about Coach Ellaby and how the offensive line looks and his players not playing is because I'm a little bit more concerned about the way that he's coaching. I think that there's something that might be missing there, especially with our tackles. I think he does a good job with those guards, but the tackles, I think something might be missing there. So I would not be opposed myself to going out and adding somebody that is just a tackle specialist, just a tackle pass pro specialist. I think that we need that. I think that would help out tremendously. So I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say that they missed on Lance Hurd from a talent perspective because he's got all the talent for sure. All right, right here saying thank you. All right, let's get on to the next one from my dog Eric B. Jones saying, "What's up, Bull? What's going on, Easy E? Happy to see you in here today." And also from Daniel Webb saying, "Appreciate your insight." Hey man, listen, we appreciate y'all for chiming in for sure. So that's pretty much where I'm at with it. I would say that just as far as the timeline, again, the insiders feel very confident that this one is pretty much already done, and he's visiting today. I would anticipate that by Friday, Saturday, we should hear that he is committing to Tennessee. Probably just came on the visit just to see, how things look. Which, I mean, he's visited Tennessee when he was in high school. He was a guy that we were after, so I'm pretty sure that he did visit Tennessee. So, he probably already knows a whole lot of the stuff, and he's probably just coming here just to get everything kind of like ironed out, sign the contracts, and all that good stuff. But I would think that pretty soon we should be hearing officially that Tennessee is adding a very good interior offensive lineman with Sam Pittman. Oh, I'm sorry, not with Sam Pittman, with Sam Pendleton. I'm thinking about Sam Pittman because I would love to have him as an offensive line coach. But we will see what Coach E does. I'm going to give him, I'm going to give him another year before I really say that he needs to go. But yeah, I mean, guys need to start stepping up. He's got to start to play some of these underclassmen. We'll see what also happens with Carnell Tate, who we spoke about a couple of days ago. We'll see. Is he going to hit the portal? If he's going to be doing it, I believe that he has until Saturday. So, and are there any other players that could potentially end up hitting the portal that we just aren't thinking about, specifically from Notre Dame and also from the Buckeyes? But I think that from Notre Dame, you want to go get the offensive lineman, from that school, offensive lineman and tight ends. We brought in a tight end last season, Holden Stays, who was very good for this team, decides to transfer out because that room is getting a little bit too deep. But, I think that he did some very nice things for Tennessee. And, I believe that Sam Pendleton would do the exact same thing. So, I would say that after we do add Sam Pendleton, probably done with the offensive line. I don't know that you want to go out and add any more pieces or, any more bodies at this point. Now, if we lose some folks in that spring window, then obviously you're going to have to go add another one, just supplement. And I'm sure that that there will be some good players that will enter in the spring, but we still need to go out and add, I think, a pretty good wide receiver. If we could add a Carnell Tate, obviously, that would be great. Hopefully we can hold on to everyone through spring, but we will see what happens. I think over the next couple of days, we should have a pretty good idea of how this roster is going to look heading into spring. But that's it for this video. Thank y'all so much for joining us this morning. Hope that y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's Thursday. Actually, let me see. Do we have some more questions? All right, let me get to these questions before we end it. So from Dustin Young asking, do I think that they'll give Nick Moore the nod over Satterwhite? He's a freshman, and the center position is crucial. No, I don't. I think that Satterwhite is going to be starting over Nick Moore. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Nick Moore doesn't have the potential to, come in and maybe start. But like you said, that's a very critical position. You need to have live reps in college situations. You need to know this scheme and understand, all of the different, sets and things like that to get everyone lined up. Like that, I think that there's a lot that goes into playing center. Really hard to play that as a true freshman. So I think that Nick Moore is going to be kind of like that backup for us, until Satterwhite goes on to the league. I think that that's how it's all going to play out. But I really do like Sat. Like, I think that he's going to be a very good center. Looking forward to it. We loved him coming out of high school, and the little clips and stuff that we've shown y'all with him playing at Tennessee. It just kind of it just backs up what we said and saw coming out of high school for him. So I think that we're going to be fine at center. We've got some really good depth there for like the first time, really. With Coach Heupel. All right, so also from Dustin Young, and could Pendleton move to center? Yeah, so that's something that we just touched on. I don't know. I'm not saying that Pendleton couldn't move to center. I'm not saying that Wendell Moore couldn't move to center either, but they've played guard. I think that we brought them in to play guard. I don't think that we even need to move them to center because, like I said, we do have good depth there that I personally trust. And I think that the staff feels the exact same way. All right, let me get to some more from my dog, Tim Dewberry, saying, appreciate the info, Bull. Great job. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for that. From Eric B. Jones saying, good show. See you next time, Bull. For sure. Thank you for that. We will see you on the next one. Tim Dewberry saying, go Vols. And from Kelly Dow saying, a couple of weeks ago was freak out. Hold on. I got to make it bigger. All right. So a couple of weeks ago was freak out, but I'm starting to think Heupel has done good keeping this roster together and adding these new portal players plus the incoming class. I think we're going to be good. Yeah, for sure. I think that those are excellent points, Kelly. I feel the exact same way. I was, freaking out some. And I was never overly concerned about the offensive line. You know what I'm saying? My biggest concern was if the coaches felt like they had a concern at guard, why are you letting Josh Thompson walk? But feels like it's going to end up, maybe being beneficial for us. I don't know, just because I don't know that Sam Pendleton would be commanding as much money as Josh Thompson was asking for. So, we end up getting a very good guard that's going to be able to play with us for a longer period of time. And we're saving some money that we can spend in some other places, like for Carnell Tate, if he does hit the portal. All right. So from Avery Jones is saying Pendleton is good. I'm happy Tennessee got in on him. Yeah, for sure. So we don't know that I'm not going to say that he is officially coming to Tennessee, but it's about like 90. I would say, it's about like 98% that he is going to be coming to Tennessee. So take that for what it's worth. All right. So Dustin just saying thanks. Great show and insight. Thank y'all so much again for joining us. And again, hope that y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's Thursday. We might come back tonight with some more things if we get some more updates on anything at all, especially with our football team. But thank you. Please do make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans, other college football fans before you leave. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks. Peace.